Hello collectors and welcome to my review of the SH Monster Arts Gigan 2004. Released in the same month as the SH Monster Arts Mothra and our first figure from the movie Final Wars, Gigan is a figure many collectors debate if they should buy. How does this figure stack up, and is it worth your purchase? Well, let's take a look and see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Gigan has an absolutely gorgeous sculpt, with paint applications to match. The deep metallic blue looks absolutely stunning in hand, and the silver highlights found on the body are applied wonderfully. Also, red is applied on the body exactly where needed. No more, no less. And, as you should expect, Gigan has some intricate detailing which is absolutely amazing. To begin, just take a look at the visor. Wow! The compound eye effect here, for Gigan, it is done wonderfully. Such tiny little dots in there. Next up, this part of Gigan right here, the mouth. It's probably the weakest point, since it's not actually accurate to the suit, and some think that the teeth are just a bit, well, goofy. Personally, it doesn't bother me too much, though it may bother you. One of the reasons why it kind of looks goofy is that the teeth are somewhat rounded, though mine on the top the teeth are rounded, but on the bottom they're kind of pointy, like you would expect Gigan's teeth to be. The overall body simply has this fantastic detailing to it, as I said before, what with all the little tubes and wires found on Gigan. Simply wonderfully done. And as you can take a look there, that rib cage, it definitely looks creepy. Gigan is mostly made of a harder plastic, so these spikes on him, both here and here on the front, yeah, just be careful with them because they're pointy and they may be prone to breaking if you mishandle them. Also of note, these spikes right here along the tail. They are made of a harder plastic and they're very rigid, though I haven't read any reports of them breaking yet. Just be careful because it wouldn't surprise me that if you ham the tail, you may break off a spike or two. Finally, I'm sure you've read that he has diecast. Well, he does, but it's just in these toe tips here. That is mostly so this way Gigan can hold himself better while posing. I'll show that to you a little bit later. Is Gigan a straight one-to-one replica of the suit? No, but it's beautiful. It's really well sculpted, and there's no paint slop at all, as you can clearly see up there on the shoulder plates and in the chest area by the ribcage. A marvelous action figure in my book, in the detail department. One of the best parts about this Gigan is that it is articulated. There are a ton of joints, and you can get a lot of poses out of him. To begin, Gigan's mouth is on a ball joint, though for some, it probably will only have a hinged motion. So it's supposed to twist and turn a little bit. Mine isn't doing that. It's only moving up and down. And that's just about as far as it can close. And that's as far as it can open. Gigan's head is attached to his neck, obviously, on a ball joint. Lots of motion. And the many joints of Gigan's neck are on ball joints. So if you're looking for a specific pose to put his neck in, chances are you're going to be able to get it. Gigan's back fins, sails, whatever you like to call them, the two outermost ones are on swivels, so they move in and out. And the middle one is sort of on a hinge joint, which allows it to move up and down. Not much side-to-side motion there. Surprisingly, Gigan's shoulder pads are on ball joints, and the reason for this is that way when you move the arms around, it won't block the articulation and restrict it a bit. Good thought to that. So to begin talking about the arms, the actual shoulder itself is attached on the inside of the body on a ball joint, so you can move it around. You have a lot of range of motion there. And the construction of the shoulder is on a swivel, so you can get Gigan's arms to go out straight, like so. Also of note, there is another joint which may be stuck on your Gigan. Where the bicep meets the shoulder joint, there is actually a swivel, like so, and it moves back and forth. On mine, it's very, very finicky, and it's difficult to move when attached to Gigan itself. So there is a swivel joint in here. It does move, but not too well for me. For the rest of Gigan's arm, at the elbow here, there is a ball joint. Right here where it meets the bicep, as you can see. And then the forearm joint here is also on a ball joint. So you get lots of spinning and turning around. And then what do you know? The giant claw, the hook, that too is attached on a ball joint. So basically, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint. Lots of ball joints for Gigan's arms. Unfortunately though, for me, mine likes to pop out a lot for both arms, but realistically speaking, it's just a simple pop back in. Like I said before, Gigan is very articulated, and there's some articulation in spots where you didn't think there would be any. Just like the shoulder pads, the main chainsaw, the belly blade of Gigan, is actually articulated, and this allows another joint free movement. What joint is that? Well, this upper area here of Gigan's torso, it can actually move. Because this blade can move in and out and side to side, the ab crunch on Gigan isn't necessarily totally blocked. It's still kind of almost useless, but if you need just a little bit of movement there, you can definitely get it out of Gigan. As you can see, you can move all the way back like that. And then, you can move in too. Not much articulation, but the fact that the blade is not necessarily set in place, it does allow this joint to move. Gigan's legs are also just about as complicated as its arms are, so let's get into them. So to begin, they are attached on ball joints at the thigh, so you get the typical movement out of them, but also of note is that they are attached on the inner workings of Gigan on a hinge, so they do move up and down, just a tad, not too much though. Very similar to the difficult to move bicep swivel of Gigan, this little portion here, the socket for the ball joint on the thigh, is actually attached to the leg on a swivel joint at the thigh. So if you need to get just a little bit more movement out of Gigan, you can definitely get it, but do note that this is very difficult to move. To continue with the leg articulation on Gigan, as you can see right here at the top, the knee is attached to the thigh on a ball joint, but it's somewhat difficult to move. But inside the knee sculpting itself, there is a simple working double hinge joint. The bottom portion of the leg is also attached on a ball joint, as you can clearly see. You can get rotation there. And right here in the middle of the shin calf area is another ball joint. So you can get movement there. And the feet are attached on a ball joint. The same goes for both legs. Also of note, the toe of Gigan, the metal toe, is attached to the foot on a ball joint. So that's pretty awesome. And you can get total foot rocker movement out of the feet. Last but absolutely not least is the wonderful tail of Gigan. If you have Godzilla 2000 Millennium, think of that, but working perfectly with hard plastic. So what kind of articulation are we looking at here? Total ball joints, as you can clearly see, with amazing range of movement all the way to the tip. Just look at that thing. Look at it go. And simply as a point of reference, you can bend it all the way up like that. All in all, in the articulation department, Gigan has some fantastic engineering, and with those die-cast toes, he can take on any pose pretty much that you can think of. There's a little bit of critiques here and there, such as the stuck swivels at the connection for the shoulders and the thighs, but realistically speaking, if you can think of a pose you want to put Gigan in, you can probably get it, if you know how to work the joints. As you should know from the promotional pictures, Gigan actually does come with a few accessories, and these accessories allow you to display Gigan in his upgraded form. First off is this separate neck piece, which shows the armor plating. Not too much articulation here, but if you need to get a pose out of it, I guess you can get that if you really try. Also comes with this serrated horn and mandibles to go along with that. Swapping Gigan's parts out to the upgraded form is pretty easy. To change the neck, all you have to do is simply pop the head off, like so. Mandible might come flying out too. And then for the neck, all you do is grip it at the base and just slowly work it and pop it out. Then there's a socket here at the bottom of the upgrade neck, and you just work it in until it's popped on. And then the head, you just simply pop on too, like so. Swapping out the horn and the mandibles is pretty easy. Mostly, especially on the mandible side of things, because they just kind of slide out very easily. Mine aren't held in too well. And all you do is you just take the upgraded one and you slide it into the same slot. And there we go. The horn, it's pretty similar. All you have to do is just sort of grip it at the base, slowly work it out. And then the upgraded horn, just push in. And voila. Now, the upgraded parts, they're sort of thicker than the source material, because if they were as thin, it'd probably break very easily. The last part to go over in terms of the accessories would be the swappable chainsaw hands. Very well detailed. Paint looks pretty nice, especially up here. There's a nice black spray. And the blades themselves. These are actually made of a soft rubber. And most reviewers have skipped over this part. But these actually move. You have to pull them very gently, but they do move. Be careful though, because they're made of that soft rubber band-ish material, so they may break over time if you're rough with these, or they may just break over time overall, so treat them carefully. And swapping out the default hooks of Gigan for these chainsaws is relatively easy. All you have to do is just grab at the base of the hook, pop it out like so, and then, because there's a ball joint attachment with a socket right here on the arm, just pop in the chainsaws there, and voila, an upgraded Gigan. Now, personally, I feel like all of the accessories Gigan came with, they're essential for a standard Final Wars Gigan. However, given it's Tamashii Nations, and there have been employees who have said that Bandai goes out of their way to include everything they possibly can with a figure, Gigan is actually kind of lacking, I feel, because, you see, Gigan is supposed to be able to fly, but he comes with no support stand for that. And also, in Final Wars, he does have a little beam that he shoots. It's kind of pitiful, and it's used in one scene, which I forgot about until somebody made mention of it, but still, it would have been nice for a swappable visor eye area with maybe a little spark of some kind coming out of it, like a little effect part, but Overall, though, I guess the accessories Gigan comes with, they're pretty solid. And really, aside from complaining for more, there's nothing to really complain about. A question many collectors would like answered is exactly how big Gigan is. I think I can shed some light on that for you. Here's Gigan alongside some Ultra Acts. Here with some NECA Kaiju. Alongside some Monster Arts Godzillas. Some of the larger Monster Arts too. And finally some Revoltechs, including his Showa counterpart. So as you can see, Gigan is pretty tall, but he's very slim. But this also extends into his limbs, and he can definitely take up some shelf space depending on what pose you have him in. So, generally speaking, Gigan is just about the right size. He can pretty much sneak into any 6-inch style display. So, buy Gigan now, skip, or wait for a sale. Gigan has amazing detailing, what with meticulously applied paint and little grooves and ridges in the sculpt reflecting the cyborg nature of the creature. He looks absolutely fantastic. The articulation is also top-notch, allowing you to put Gigan in nearly any pose of your choice. Sadly for me, the various ball joints in the arms and legs like to come apart very easily. However, as easy as they come undone, it's about as easy as they go back together. So not a huge complaint. Overall, Gigan's absolutely fantastic. If you're a fan of Gigan, it's an easy must-own in my book. If you're on the fence, I highly suggest jumping in headfirst on this release. Yeah, it's a little bit expensive. I'd say maybe not necessarily worth MSRP, but Gigan is simply amazing.